In the fifth heaven, something is singing. The sound never stops. 3 words repeated in an endless loop, a celestial round that began before humanity and must continue until the stars collapse. Holy, holy, holy. But here's what the Renaissance painters never told you. 1 missed beat, 1 syllable held too long, and the singer becomes a column of flame that burns for exactly as long as it takes for the echo to fade, then nothing. Not even ash. This isn't metaphor. According to a Jewish mystical text written sometime between the 4th and 6th centuries, there exists an entire class of angels whose sole function is to sing perfectly, every moment of eternity or cease to exist. They're called the song-uttering choirs, and they live in Macon, the 5th of 7 heavens, where they perform under the cosmic baton of Tagus, the angel of music you've never heard of. Tagus doesn't forgive. Divine fire doesn't negotiate. And somewhere in the architecture of reality that the author of 3 Enoch describes, 12 orders of angels are locked in the highest stakes performance in existence. The text itself arrives in history like a fever dream. We know it as 3 Enoch, though scholars call it Sefer Hekalot, the Book of Palaces. It belongs to a wild strain of Jewish mysticism called Merkabah literature, where rabbis describe journeys through layered heavens, throne rooms guarded by angels with names like rivers of fire, and God as something so overwhelming that seeing him requires passing through 7 celestial checkpoints. The author claims to be recording the visions of Rabbi Ishmael, who meets the archangel Metatron and gets the full tour of heaven's bureaucracy. And bureaucracy is exactly what this is. 3. Enoch reads like someone designed a cosmic org chart, then named every position in Hebrew military and civic terms that would have been intimately familiar to anyone living in the late Roman Empire. Because here's the thing about angels in this period. They're exploding in number and specificity. Christianity has Pseudo-Dionysius writing his celestial hierarchy around the same time, organizing angels into 9 choirs with names like thrones and dominions. Mystical, abstract, vaguely Greek. But 3 Enoch? Its author is working with Hebrew titles that any reader would recognize from their own political reality. Captains, horsemen. Warriors, troops. The angels of Macon aren't ethereal. They're ranked military units repurposed for cosmic worship. The first order, the Shalishim. In ancient Hebrew, a shalish is a captain or adjutant, the 3rd-ranking officer in a chariot, the military attaché who stands behind the commander. King Solomon had Shalishim. King David had Shalishim. Now imagine these figures, stripped of chariots and bronze armor, standing in the 5th heaven with one job: sing the Trisagion. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. They don't strategize or fight. They maintain the frequency. Miss it once and someone else becomes Shalishim. The promotion system is instantaneous and terminal. Second order, the Parashim, the horsemen. This word appears 43 times in the Hebrew Bible, always referring to mounted cavalry, the elite strike force of ancient Near Eastern warfare. In 3 Enoch, they've dismounted for eternity. No horses in Macon, no enemies to charge. Just the endless recitation, and the knowledge that divine fire waits for the first rider to lose rhythm. Third, the Gibborim. Now we're in dangerous territory, etymologically speaking. Gibborim means mighty ones, or champions. But this same word appears in Genesis 6 as the Nephilim, the giants born when the sons of God took human wives, the beings so troubling that God wipes the world clean with a flood. 3. Enoch reclaims the word, but the shadow remains. These angels carry a title soaked in rebellion and divine judgment, now locked into eternal compliance. The text never explains this choice, but the tension sits there like a narrative bomb. Warriors who cannot fight. Might channeled entirely into vocal cords. The 4th order names something you've heard without knowing it. Tsevaot. In English Bibles, this becomes Lord of Hosts, though most readers imagine hosts means a welcoming party. The Hebrew means armies, multitudes. Military legions arrayed for cosmic war. Every time someone sings Sabaoth in a church choir, that Latin version of Tsevaot in the Sanctus, they're invoking this exact angelic class from 3 Enoch, singing their own echo of the song these angels cannot stop singing. The Christian liturgy and the Jewish mystical text converge here, in this single word that means, look at how many soldiers God has. Fifth, the Gedudim, troops or raiders. This word in the Hebrew Bible describes irregular forces, guerrilla units, the bands of warriors who strike fast and vanish. King David led a Gedud before he became king. Now these raiders raid nothing. They stand in formation and sing. Sixth, the Memunim, the appointed ones, the deputies. This is pure administrative language, the term for officials assigned to specific duties. In ancient Israel, a Memuni might oversee tax collection or temple maintenance. In Macon, they're deputized for worship. Their appointment eternal and non-negotiable. Seventh, the Sarim. Princes, commanders, chieftains. This title appears over 400 times in the Hebrew Bible, denoting the ruling class, governors of cities, generals of armies, nobility. 3. Enoch fills heaven with princes who command nothing except their own voices. The hierarchy exists, but it governs only the song. 8th, the Chayalim, the armies themselves, the basic soldiers. Chayil means military force, the boots-on-ground infantry. They're the rank and file of heaven's perpetual performance, each soldier a singer, each singer a potential casualty. 9th, the Mesherathim, servants or ministers. This word connects to temple service in biblical Hebrew, the Levites who assist priests. These angels minister by singing. Their liturgical function collapsed entirely into sound production. 10th, the Malachim. This word breaks your brain if you look at it too long. Malach is the standard Hebrew word for angel. It literally means messenger. But 3. Enoch lists it here as one class among 12, meaning the generic term for angel becomes a specific rank within an angel subcategory. It's like having a military list that goes captain, lieutenant, soldier, person. The translation in some sources as kings adds another layer. The word's root can bend toward sovereignty, making these the messengers who are also kings, or kings whose throne is service, or something that Hebrew contains and English can't quite hold. 11th, the Degalim, standards or battalions. A degel is a military banner, the flag that identifies a unit in battle. In the Israelite camp during the Exodus, tribes marched under Degalim. These angels are living standards, their identity defined by the collective they represent, marked by song instead of embroidered cloth. 12th, the Sabalim, transporters, bearers of burdens. Here at the bottom of the hierarchy we find the working class of heaven, the angels whose title means carrying weight. Even in paradise someone has to haul. Even in paradise that someone must sing while doing it, or burn. Stand back and look at what the author of 3 Enoch has done. They've taken every military and civic rank they know, the entire vocabulary of organization and power from their earthly experience, and projected it onto the 5th heaven. This isn't poetry. It's systems architecture. It's someone looking at how empires structure authority and saying, heaven works this way too, but instead of conquest, the output is worship, and instead of court-martial, the punishment is instant annihilation. But why fire? Why not silence them, demote them, imprison them? Because in the logic of 3 Enoch, these angels aren't being punished. They're failing a cosmic maintenance protocol. The Trisagion isn't aesthetic. It's functional. Jewish mysticism of this era often treats divine speech as creative force. God speaks and reality happens. The angel's song maintains the frequency on which creation runs. One voice drops out and there's a gap in the resonance, a micro-silence where chaos could slip through. The fire isn't God's anger. It's the automatic fail-safe, the system closing a breach before it spreads. Tagas conducts all of this. The angel of music, almost unknown in wider tradition, keeping 12 orders synchronized across eternity. The text gives him one job: make sure they sing the Trisagion correctly and on time. No mercy clause. No grace period. Tagas exists at the intersection of art and terror, beauty and existential threat. He's the conductor for a performance where the audience is God, the stage is the 5th heaven, and missing your cue means you were never there at all. Compare this to what Christians were writing at the same time. Pseudo-Dionysius describes seraphim, cherubim, thrones, angels named for proximity to divinity, for qualities of love and enlightenment, arranged in triads of increasing holiness. His angels contemplate. They radiate. They exist in states of perpetual theosis, becoming more like God through spiritual transformation. It's Neoplatonism with wings, the hierarchy of being expressed as celestial meditation. 3. Enoch builds an army and tells it to sing. The angels have ranks, orders, commanders. They follow protocol. They perform assigned tasks. The text emerges from a Jewish community living under Roman and later Byzantine rule, people intimately familiar with military occupation and imperial bureaucracy. Of course, their heaven looks structured like a legion. Of course, angelic service mirrors civic duty. And of course, failure means fire, because mercy, in this cosmology, would threaten the stability of existence itself. The song-uttering choirs are still singing, if they ever existed outside the fever dreams of Merkaba mystics, who fasted and prayed themselves into trance states to see God's throne. Makon is still the fifth heaven in some schema that runs parallel to our reality, where every moment the Trisagion rises in 12-part harmony, perfectly synchronized, eternally sustained. Holy, holy, holy. The Shalishim captain this worship. The Parashim ride no horses but carry the melody. The Gibborim mighty one their way through another repetition. The Tsevaot host the multitude of voices. The Gedudim raid silence with sound. The Memonim keep their appointed posts. The Sarim command nothing but their own throats. The Chialim soldier on. The Mesharathim serve. The Malachim messenger, the most repeated message in heaven. The Digalim bear standards of sustained pitch. The Sabalim carry the burden of never stopping. And Tagas conducts. And divine fire waits. And the author of 3 Enoch, anonymous across 16 centuries, leaves us this image, that even paradise runs on systems, that even angels live under threat, that the distance between a choir and an army might be thinner than we think. That holiness, in at least one ancient Jewish imagination, sounds less like joy and more like the most perfectly executed order in creation, where discipline equals existence, and one moment of human error would mean you're not human at all, just a burst of flame dissolving into the same heaven that demanded you sing forever, or not at all.